When leaves fall down, winter's coming, worry, I lose my faith.
Hey, what's shaking, Warfighter Nation? Today we're bringing you Faith in a Foxhole, Frago 30, Pride in the Name of Love, the Silent Killer. I've always told you since day one, we're all about faith here, not religion. I can't emphasize that enough. There exists a monumental difference between the two, and that at a very fundamental level illustrates a huge difference. We've always believed this way, and we always will. We're not perfect, and we don't pretend to be. I've always been pretty open about who I am, and we maintain a unique sense of transparency in that we walk alongside you. We see your joy, we see your pain, and everything in between. Many of you have been with us for over a decade, and you've seen ours as well. We're Team Breland, and what you see is what you get. But make no mistake, who I used to be is not nearly who I've become. What you see now is not merely a polished version of my past, but a man who's found his true purpose through the ashes. God's graced us with 19 years of marriage, and I could never repay that gratitude. I'm still pretty scuffed up and rough around the edges, like many of us. And I'm still a sinner, that's a fact, and I will be until the day the Lord calls me home. I realized what was at stake and what I had to do to help save myself, because I definitely couldn't do it on my own. I was the captain of my own soul, as it were. Most people have heard someone say that during their lifetime, and some of you maybe even heard it from me. But I did have to do my portion of the work. It was no small task, but definitely worth it. I was worth it. I still am. And so are you. God has given the warfighter a unique and unparalleled sense of fighting spirit. It's not that we love to fight, or maybe we do, just a little. Some more than others. Yeah, nailed it. But no matter at which point you fall in this spectrum, there's definitely an indomitable spirit that guides the warfighter. And when warfighters gather, this spirit is tangible in the atmosphere. You can feel it. Now that we've got a foundation, let's take a look at where believers and their faith is either overtly or otherwise silenced or diminished. We hear all the time about the Christian faith being banned in predominantly Muslim countries, and yet others where it's not necessarily banned, but perhaps frowned upon or not encouraged. And yet other places where people of faith are simply the minority, yet they're free to practice their faith openly and without fear of persecution, also exist. It's like looking in a mirror into my past. People who haven't delved very deeply into their own healing, yet still looking for purpose. Many create nonprofit organizations or other groups that do the very thing you would think any warfighter would find unconscionable. Often, contributing factors can be a combination of fear and inconvenience. By this I mean fears breaching the topic of faith and presumed inconveniences that may come from previous negative experiences. This issue has been busting through the underpinnings of my thoughts for some time now. While there are certain circles, venues, or crowds where you might see opposition towards anything related to faith in Christ, it often tends to show up where we least expect. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, which brings me to this message. I can't say I'm shocked that this invisible barrier, which is one of many I believe, prevents literally thousands of warfighters each and every day from opening a conversation. And that very conversation could potentially save their lives and a whole lot more. Have I got your attention yet? In October of 1968, 2 years before I was born, believe it or not, Three Dog Night released their chart-topping hit, One Is the Loneliest Number. It's a decent song, but I disagree. I believe that 22 is the loneliest number, and I believe we, the Warfighter Nation, are possibly contributing to it. Buckle up. Once upon a time, just a few years ago, I myself was a party to others' misery. In more than a few cases, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I was absolutely 100% to blame. And if I'm being completely honest, in my dark days and well before my revelation came, I pretty much had no filters. I shielded myself behind the veteran title, come what may and damn the consequences. I was looking at everything through my own worldview. I knew everything. All you had to do was ask me, and I would have told you with complete confidence. You may not have believed it yourself, but I can almost say with absolute certainty that you would have believed that I did. That makes sense? Damn, I was proud. Too proud for my own good, and certainly not leading by example. This pride also kept me from being the spiritual leader that I was called to be. It's the same calling that every man has to be a spiritual leader in the home. It has nothing to do with dominance or inequality. These are roles that our Creator intended for us. That's not my interpretation. It is written. Various social media platforms, as well as many nonprofits, have similar broad spectrum rules about religion, yet don't seem to be welcome to one's actual faith. This may be allowed occasionally to express it in word, but not necessarily in deed, just as long as it's kept and maintained internally. Faith and religion get lumped together, and in the process, our own constitutional liberties are being summarily dismissed by the same people who have sworn an oath, the same oath as the Founding Fathers, to defend them. After all, did we not pledge our very lives to protecting that freedom, among others, for future generations? I don't believe this always happens consciously, as many may not even be aware of it. What is often brushed aside by others might be the very thing that saves a life, even before the end of this message. Imagine, if you will, a soldier, in this case, me. I understand the proclivities, the societal norms, and the different dialects of our warfighter customs and culture and subsets. I also have somewhat of an open door understanding with humanity since my revelation. Some say it's a double standard and others say it's fair. Accept me where I'm at, and I will do the same in kind. That's it. Pretty simple, I think. Does that resonate with you? Notice I didn't say, accept me as I am or go pound sand. That leaves no room for personal growth, responsibility, or accountability. And quite frankly, we're all better than that. We did not leave personal and professional development or character building behind when we took off our boots. That continues until our last breath. Regardless of whether we post a Faith in a Foxhole message, a daily verse, or even a meme, we've never posted any content that divides our community, and we've yet to see any radical discussion on either side. It's not that we're going middle of the road in our message or our way of spreading the gospel, but moreover, it's really as simple as, what would Jesus do? I know some people think that sounds corny, but at the end of the day, realistically, we all have the ability to hate. But the real question is, are you strong enough to love? Faith, often enough, is the unexplored solution to our community's very real problems, and our goal to bring the warfighter nation together in peace. The world's divisive enough in a number of ways, and we don't really need any help in that department. Everything we post is beneficial, hopeful, and prayerful for the warfighter community, and we work diligently to keep hope and encouragement on the horizon every single day. Many online veteran communities say that they're open to most any topic, but consider religion to be divisive. Well, it is. Jesus himself didn't like religion, nor do I. So if you're of this mindset, I think you're in pretty good company. Faith, however, is not divisive. Faith serves and encourages finding a peace through God, who is clearly greater and stronger than we are. And faith in each other presents an opportunity for hope among the hopeless, humility, and a spirit of voluntary servitude, and placing ourselves second. It is an appreciation for our very lives, our existence. It's trying to live a life of gratitude and grace in this imperfect world full of imperfect people. Our duty is to serve our communities where we've been firmly planted. It's up to the individual if they pick up what I'm laying down. That's the whole point. It's a choice. The choice to follow, trust, obey, and even die for something bigger than ourselves. I don't really believe that this is unfamiliar territory for most of us. A lot of online communities like to rack up big numbers, likes, and other forms of intangible gratification. This is typically called kingdom building, but the wrong kind, where all the rules are made up for different reasons. I believe the tendency for a lot of these leaders is to stay clear of faith because it's often viewed as divisive because of the spirited conversations that are often derived from it. The real power is not in big numbers, my friends. It is in collective faith and knowledge. I get it. I really do. I've been there, done that, and thankfully survived it. But it almost didn't happen. The most common answer I get from warfighters when I ask, how's your relationship with God, isn't all that shocking. I hear over and over again, it's complicated, or God and I have an understanding. And without fail, every time my reply is, that's a great place to start. Can we talk about uncomplicating it? Had a bad experience at church? Been there. Let down by a church leader? Me too. Rejected by a particular church community? Check. Heard a prosperity gospel? Double check. Lied to? Deceived? Heartbroken? Check, checkity, check, check, check. And all of that has nothing to do with faith. That's religion. I just know that right now, there are way more than 22 guys and gals out there like me, like you, like every one of us, that are suffering in silence right under our radar. And if our message can reach even one of them, then my entire life is worth pursuing that end. If people don't want to hear me, they can feel free to keep on scrolling. It's actually pretty painless. And all of that has nothing to do with faith. That's religion. I just know that right now, there are way more than 22 guys and gals out there like me, like you, like every one of us, that are suffering in silence right under our radar. And if our message can reach even one of them, then my entire life is worth pursuing that end. If people don't want to hear me, they can feel free to keep on scrolling. It's actually pretty painless. The truth is, we can't really be offended unless we allow it to happen. We have a great commission that we must fulfill, and you can bet more than your stripes that it's a no-fail mission. I can't allow for fear, insecurities, shame, or especially pride to get in the way of that. Not yours, and certainly not my own. Pride is in fact the sin that God hates the most, as illustrated by Satan's fall from grace. That's the beauty of it. People can choose to have faith. People can choose anything they like. But the unavoidable truth is that every choice has consequences. Some good, some bad. That's life. No one said this would be easy. And you know as well as I do that the only easy day was yesterday. This commission lays heavy on both my heart and on my shoulders. But the load's much lighter now than it used to be. Thankfully, now I know He will give me all I need to accomplish this mission, regardless of what sits before me. And I need His strength, because I know many will turn away simply because I mention His name. If it were easy, then everyone would be doing it. Sometimes this journey terrifies me, and then I have to regroup and rest in my faith, because if not us, then who? A lot of veterans use their careers and influence to chase after the almighty dollar. Nothing wrong with that, as long as they know where their true blessings come from. But then again, they don't answer to me. In the end, we'll all answer to the same commander. This life, though temporary, is not everything. It's only the beginning. I used to do the same, until I came around by doing what I always knew how to do in the first place. We were made this way, trained this way, and we were never meant to do this alone. We are the warfighter nation, and we have always been better together. I had to ask for help, to kick my own pride squarely in its ass. I couldn't have done this alone, nor without letting go of a lot of toxins that figuratively filled my heart. Pride, anger, soul self-reliance, and hate. I had to let go of my own ignorance and shame. If not, I would never be free of it. The very thing that shamed me internally for over a quarter of a century as it turns out, was the launching point for my greatest comeback ever. That too is an historical fact. Please don't let your pride kill you. I nearly did. Open the conversation today.